Hello, hello, hello. So welcome to Quality Shot. So basically, today obviously we've got quite an interesting fight. We've got Terence Bud Crawford against Sean Porter, which I think is about to start shortly. Looks like the ring announcer is in the middle of the ring and they're singing the US national anthem right now. I'm hoping you guys can hear me because I don't have, as you would have already realized by now, I don't have my headphones. I do have them, but I've been trying to give CPR to this thing over here, which isn't working very well. So that's the annoying thing about having wireless headphones. If you can't connect to the thing that makes it work, then you're basically screwed. So I'm living off my video, my webcam's microphone, which from doing some audio tests should hopefully be working. And if it doesn't work, then you won't be listening to any of this anyway, and all you're literally going to be doing is just watching my facial reactions, which is not going to be particularly helpful. But if you are just joining this stream, then if you could mention in the chat box whether you actually can hear me or not, or if you want to troll me, you could say that you can't hear me. That would be great. So I'm just going to proceed as I think is fit. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you can't, then apologies. I'll get a new headset and sort my shizzle out. So. Yeah, so we've got an interesting fight, as I was saying this evening. So Terence Crawford, obviously very well known, and also Sean Porter, both very well known. Really good welterweights in the welterweight division coming out of the US. Both very well known for their respective styles. Might as well run through the tail of the tape as these fighters make their way through into the ring before we begin. So Crawford, who's probably the favourite for this fight, of course, he is currently holding one of the welterweight titles as well, the WBO World Welterweight title. He's got 37 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. Very, very good boxing record there, of course. To be undefeated currently is obviously a very big factor as to why he really should be fighting people like Errol Spence eventually, who he hasn't fought yet. But he has been inactive recently, which is something to note. I mean, his last fight was against Brook, and I very much remember that last fight. He absolutely destroyed Kell Brook in that fight, dismantled him, and pretty much ruined any chances that Kell Brook initially had of trying to climb up the welterweight division. Who basically was dealt successive blows. So yeah, it's a big deal here. Terence Crawford with his undefeated record, and we'll see how good he is and whether he's got any ring rust. Given the fact that his last fight was in November 2020, I believe it was. If I just check box rec, that is correct. Yeah, so that's what I thought. And then he's going up against Sean Porter, who is not the favourite, to be perfectly honest. But one thing about Porter is that he's got a pretty good, he's got, generally speaking, a pretty good chin, and he's got decent knockout power as well. To be fair, both these fighters have very good knockout power. So who knows whether this fight is going to go the distance or not. But most of the recent fights, to be perfectly honest, went the distance respectively, apart from in the case of Crawford, where he's knocked out quite a lot of his opponents. Obviously, he also knocked out by TKO Amir Khan, which was an interesting fight against Khan. So I'm thinking that Crawford is going to win this fight. We'll have to see whether it's a points decision or whether he manages to produce a KO or TKO. But it'll be interesting, nevertheless, to see this fight. It is 4:20 in the morning in the UK, but it is what it is. big American fight. It has to be obviously at the in Las Vegas, Nevada, of course. So yeah, it's a big American fight. I'm sure the American viewers are enjoying this and are not as sleep deprived as as I am. So yeah, I'll hopefully give a blow by blow commentary. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can't, then apologies. Yes, and I need to sort out my wireless headphones at some point. So yeah, welcome to the stream. Look forward to having you over for the next half an hour and a bit. And let's hope that there's an interesting fight ahead of us. So currently we've got Sean Porter being shown on the screen here. Very interesting church themed background there. It's very eschatological right now. He's just he's standing over the crowd right now. The stained glass is shining in the back. Only that it's an image of stained glass projected rather than actual stained glass. It looks like he's got a gentleman who is who's looking very impassioned next to him, screaming over the microphone. I'm gonna imagine that his theme entrance has something to do with some theological, eschatological type of vibes, where maybe the guy next to him is trying to be like a preacher, while he's introducing him. I wish I knew, because I can't hear anything because of my stupid headphones. So yeah, I mean, it certainly looks like a church vibe, because he's got a bunch of choir people lining up behind them as well with little lightsaber things. I don't know why they've got things that look like Star Wars lightsabers in their hands, because probably doesn't fit the theme very well, but it is what it is. That's what he decided to do. You do you, Sean. So he's making his way through the crowd now, Sean Porter, with his team surrounding him, just going on a leisurely walk. It'll be interesting to see what Terence Crawford's entrance is like. I assume it'll be less dramatic, but we'll have to see, of course. But Sean Porter trying to put on a show, fair dues to him, and he's making his way into the ring right now. For those of you who are in the chat, welcome, as I mentioned. I mean, do let me know your predictions for this fight. My prediction is that Crawford is going to win this fight. I don't know whether by TKO or KO or on a points basis. I'll probably get a better understanding of that as I watch along. But I will try to keep score unofficially of how I think the fight is going. Currently got Sean Porter in the middle of the ring, getting Vaseline thrown onto his face by his cut man. And we're just going to wait for Terence Bud Crawford to enter the ring as well. It's good to see how sport has resumed itself, especially fighting sport in the US, whether that's MMA, UFC, boxing, regardless of what it is. It's good to see this stuff resuming itself and us getting back to normality. notwithstanding all the COVID stuff that's going on. So it's good to see this fight happening, and you know, I mean, part of the reason as to why these fighters haven't fought since late 2020, respectively, is due to this COVID situation. So you know, sure they're trying to get back into it properly now. And we just got on the big screen some show reels of some Crawford's devastating knockout victories as Crawford begins his ring walk to meet Sean Porter in the middle of the ring. Quite a devastating knockout power, to be honest, Crawford. We have to keep in mind that according to Box Record, he's got a 75.68% KO victory. Yo, deal. What's up? Can you actually let me know whether you can hear me, by the way? Because I don't have a clue whether I could be heard. And the reason why is because I've broken my my headphones, my wireless headphones. So I'm not using my wireless headphones. I'm instead using the microphone, which is inbuilt within my webcam. So I'm really hoping, I'm really hoping you can hear me. But if not, then you're gonna have to go based on my facial expressions as to how the fight is going. To be fair. I really shouldn't have gone a wireless headphone set. Like, I thought it'd be a good idea. I thought it'd be trendy, on trend, but obviously, you know, it makes things much more complicated. You should have just gone for old school stuff. Anyway, this is such a contrast. You see the difference between these two fighters. Crawford's already in the ring. No, like weird background. Excellent. That's really good to hear. Deal. Thank you very much for confirming that. Yeah, no like background. No like background like special effects or anything like that for Crawford. My man's just walking straight into the middle of the ring. There's nothing special about it compared to Sean Porter's entrance, which was a bit of like yeah, a bit of a show, I guess. So yeah, it was classic. I wouldn't have expected Bud to have like something similar to what Porter had put on. But anyway, both fighters in the ring now, thankfully. Thanks to Crawford making it quite a quick exercise of getting himself into the ring. So yeah, interesting fight ahead of us. Both fighters looking very focused, as they should. You know, all the talk is out of the way now. All the dramatics, the drama, the hype, all that is out of the way. Someone in Crawford's team proudly displaying his WBO World Welterweight title belt. So all that stuff is out of the way. We're here for this fight now. It's time for the gloves to do the talking. Of course, 3 American judges in this American venue in Nevada. Wouldn't expect anything less. There's going to be no robberies in this, I wouldn't imagine. Both fighters hailing out of the US. But you know, you can never be too sure. Hopefully not a controversial fight. Hopefully an interesting fight. There you go. There's one of our first predictions in the chat. A deal saying that he believes Crawford will win this fight by TKO in round 4, which I think is a very reasonable prediction in my view. You know, Crawford's got really mad like knockout power, as I mentioned earlier. It's like, you know, 75% knockout ratio, really good, especially for a fighter who's been undefeated and had 37 professional fights, won 28 of his fights by KO. It's mad, absolutely mad. Not only that, he's a southpaw, which is interesting. Obviously, you don't get as many southpaw fighters, do you? But you know, southpaw fighter with a really heavy hand. You know, Porter's up against quite a difficult opponent here, very difficult opponent, and I'm sure the bookies have have Crawford winning this, as does Adil and myself in terms of our predictions. So we'll see how long this fight draws out. I think it'll be very impressive if Porter goes the whole distance of this fight and puts on a good show and doesn't look horrible in it, because Crawford is a very, very, very good opponent. He's defeated his last 8 opponents by knockout. That's a pretty stinging record, to be honest. So we'll see how this plays out, eh? Both fighters just getting announced right now in the ring. So I'm just about to set up my Crawford versus Porter. Crawford versus Porter round by round points card. Right, that's set up. Yeah, so referee in the middle of the ring, Celestino Ruiz refereeing this. Hey, I've got Crawford. I didn't know at the beginning of the fight. I was saying that I'm not entirely sure whether he's going to win by KO or TKO, or whether it's going to be a points victory. But if he was to win by KO or TKO, I'm probably similar to you. I think it'll be middle-ish rounds. So maybe 4 to 7. But we'll have to see how Porter deals with the first few rounds to get an understanding of how much of a chance he's got in this fight. All right, everybody, the fight is underway. Interestingly, Porter coming out quite aggressive, to be honest, and throwing a double left jab and a jab to the body, neither of which connect. But he's definitely quick on his feet, Porter, and he's interesting coming forward quite a bit. Threw a right hand, which I think just connected. He's taken the middle of the ring. Porter using his left jab to try and push himself forward, close the distance. Crawford just happy and comfortable to be on the outside of the around the edges of the ring. Porter throwing some vicious right hooks to the body while being held on the clinch there. And to be honest, first punches I think landed coming from Porter in this fight. He's looking quite sharp and alert. He's certainly stalking Crawford around the ring. Porter, very interesting start, trying to close that distance, and he's trying to unleash some heavy shots. Crawford just getting behind him and tying him up. Referee stepping in, breaking up the 2 fighters. Crawford looking the more active as we have 1 minute 30 left of this first round. To be perfectly honest, looking quick on his feet and jumping about, taking the center of the ring. Crawford throwing a few punches and missing, sorry, Porter throwing a few punches there, missing, and Crawford tying him up. And we've got Porter now trying to close the distance. Oh, throwing a nice left, Porter, which does connect, but I don't think Crawford felt that. No, I actually think Porter's having the better round. He's just been a bit more active, and so far I haven't really seen Crawford land anything. But he might just be, conducting an analysis for how everything's going, trying to work things out, taking his time. But Porter has been the more active of the 2 fighters so far in this first round. Come forward with a double left jab, which misses, but he's more active at least, and he is trying to back Crawford against the ropes and unleash a combination of punches. 10 seconds left of this first round, and to be perfectly honest, I would give that first round to Porter. And that's the end of the first round. I mean, I'll give that round to Porter. Yeah, so I think I might have been focusing too much on Crawford at the beginning half of that first round. I think I might have been saying Crawford is a Porter actually at points. But what I was going to say in a summary of that first round is I actually think Porter came out much better in that first round. He was more active. He was trying to close the distance. He did land a few times. Nothing too heavy, but I would definitely have it 10-9 to Porter. So I've got Porter up by 1 in that first round. And then we'll just check the chat. Deal's saying, looks like Crawford's checking Porter out, going to get him later rounds, expecting him the way he fights. Yeah. So it might actually just be, even though Crawford, in my view, has lost that first round, it might be Crawford is just conducting his analysis, as you would, of how Porter is fighting, and he's going to just take that information and use it and make his own little tweaks and then try and knock him out. Now it looks like Crawford is slightly more active as we start this second round. It looks like he's trying to throw more. Porter again taking the middle of the ring and trying to stalk Crawford, trying to land a right, and Crawford tying him up. Crawford doing a good job, to be honest, just tying up Porter and staying out of reach and kind of circling around him at times. He's happy for Porter to come at him. Porter with a left to the body. Both fighters just feinting right now in the middle of the ring. Crawford leaning forward with a right, and it doesn't connect. Oh, Crawford trying to throw a right hook, doesn't connect. And Porter's still just feinting his way forward, trying to throw the jab forward to try and close the distance between him and Crawford. And Sean Porter doing a good job as well, just trying to stay out of reach, stay out of Crawford's reach. He does knock. Porter does knock Crawford with a right there. And Crawford does stumble back, but I think it's because he lost some balance. So nothing too serious. But Crawford certainly looking a bit more active compared to the first round this time, in my view. And Porter coming forward with a left and a right, a 1-2 combination, try and get forward there. He's trying to close the distance, Porter, and I believe Crawford has a longer reach. So he's really risking things when he's trying to come forward. Oh, nice left thrown by Porter there. Nice short left. And another nice short left thrown by Porter. And Crawford trying to come back with his own. And now Crawford trying to throw. Yo, Porter did pretty good just then. He connected with at least two left hooks. And it looks like Crawford with a right. It looks like Crawford is trying to win that round back there, because he did catch 2 left hooks, which didn't look very good for him. And you can see that he's looking more active now, Crawford, in these last 20 seconds of the second round to try and get something of his own. Try and maybe stifle the confidence that Porter might be gaining right now from this second round and the previous round. Starting to get a bit more comfortable, Porter. And Porter like planting his feet and trying to come forward, round ends. I would give that round to Porter. I got Porter out by 2. And there you go, as expected, the slow-mo being the left hook and the right hook thrown by Porter. But interestingly, he did get caught himself with a bunch of punches by Crawford coming in. And that's the problem. I'm giving that to Porter. I mean, I don't know how useful any of the scoring is, because I feel like the fight is not going to go the distance anyway. But I've got Porter up by 2. And I mean, Porter is trying to close the distance. He's a bit shorter, I believe, and he's also got less reach. And so I think he tries to leap forward, throw the 1-2, throw the double jab to try and close the distance so he can follow it up with a power punch. And the problem with that is he leaves himself exposed to counters. So he has taken a few counters in the process of trying to close that distance and throw some punches of his own. So you know, watch those counters. Watch those counters, because Crawford might come up with a really devastating counter while Porter's trying to come forward, which might be what happens, and it might really hurt Porter. So third round is underway. Crawford looking a bit more active now. He's just throwing a bit more. And now we've interestingly got Porter a bit more on the back foot. Again, Porter trying to lean, trying to come forward. But unfortunately Crawford just slipping his punches there. Again, you can see Porter's trying his very best. He's just feinting, waiting for the right time, and then trying to burst forwards with a bunch of punches to try and close that distance and then throw that power punch. But I feel like Crawford is getting used to that now, and so he's waiting for Porter to come forward so that he can then throw that power punch. Doing a really good job just feinting about, staying busy. Crawford trying to land an uppercut while Porter was coming forward, but didn't really connect. As we've got 1 minute 40 of this third round. And now, interestingly, Crawford starting to come forward, and it looks like Porter's in the corner of the ring right now. Ideally, he wants to get out of there, because Crawford's going to start coming forward and trying to throw some punches of his own. And Porter doing a decent job of trying to feint his way through this rather uncomfortable position that he's finding himself in, having been the aggressor for the first and second round. And yeah, Porter manages to run out of that corner and make his way back into the center of the ring. He's coming forward with his own with a nice right. Oh, a nice right thrown by Porter, which does connect. Really good punch there. And I don't know whether, yeah, I mean, it looks like Crawford didn't feel any of that, because he's laughing his ass off. And he's literally laughing at Porter right now. But he could be laughing because he felt it. Who knows? But best punch of the round so far, I think, goes to Porter. That being said, if you look at the actual damage caused, Porter's right eye is starting to really bleed up. He's bleeding coming from his right eye. I have no idea at what point that right eye cut came from, but we're going to have to see. And yeah, Porter just falling onto the canvas, a slip. It's like Crawford maybe kind of pushed him a bit. 15 seconds left of this third round. And that's the thing, you know, we're looking at Porter coming forward and throwing those jabs and that eye-catching punch. But then you realize that, oh, come on, man. Crawford just manhandling Porter there and taunting him after the end of that third round. As I was going to say, Porter's not looking particularly happy, to be perfectly honest. He looks exhausted. What I was going to say was that we're seeing Porter coming forward and landing some big shots like the shot I saw in that third round. But then when you look at the damage caused, it's Porter who's got the cut over his right eye. You wonder where that happened. Ah, it was a headbutt. It was a headbutt. They're just showing the slow-mo. It was a headbutt. He got a headbutt. He got a headbutt. Okay, I'm giving that round to Porter. Interestingly, I mean, I think Porter's winning this fight. I think Porter's up by 3. But he sustained a headbutt, which is a real pain. So it looked like, you know, you saw the cut, and I was wondering where did that cut come from. Porter obviously realizes that was a headbutt, and Crawford kind of taunting him afterwards. But we'll see how this fight continues to progress. I mean, I got Porter up by 3, personally. Yes, I did see the co-main event, a deal that got called off through a bump of heads. I think one of the fighters won by technicality, I think it was, the ruling. So it does happen, headbutts, and, you know, my usual understanding is that with headbutts, if the rounds go on long enough, you go to a points decision, and you look at the points that were scored. But if the rounds don't go on long enough, then it's ruled like a no contest. But we'll see how damaging that headbutt punch. Sorry, that headbutt punch. See how damaging that you can tell it's 4 a.m., 4:50 a.m. We'll see how much of a big deal that headbutt clash is going to be. Anyway, we're in the 4th round. We've got 2 minutes left. It looks like Crawford really looks very relaxed out there, and it looks like he's starting to come forward a bit more. Although whenever I say that, he then ends up eating a hook or something, and Porter looks much better. So got 1 minute 50, and Porter coming forward. Both fighters clinching. Porter throwing a bunch of shots to the body. Well, I feel like Porter's trying to land his own headbutt now. Not particularly good that he suffered this headbutt. He was doing really well. You know, a cut is still a cut. That's still going to cause issues. Crawford's smiling as he gets backed up against the ropes. I mean, I don't know whether should he really be smiling, because I don't think he's doing that well. I mean, I know he's throwing the counters, and one of those counters might be very, very effective. So far, what he's doing is unimpressive. I'm giving more credit to Porter in this fight so far. Both fighters just finding themselves tied up again. There's not really much in this round, to be perfectly honest. Nice, strong left jab thrown by Porter, which connects. And both fighters just in the middle of the ring, nothing really happening right now. A double left jab thrown by Porter, which doesn't connect, mainly just to try and get him forward a bit more, closer to Porter. And so closer to Crawford, sorry. Porter just, Porter trying to come forward and then finding himself the victim of a counter which hits the back of his head. And there you go. And now Porter finds himself in the corner of the ring with 10 seconds left of this 4th round. But Porter coming forward. I mean, this is a great fight, to be perfectly honest. These fighters are really trying to throw punches here, rather than hugging it out. End of that 4th round, to be honest, I don't really know how to score that one. Both fights had good success. I'd probably give it to Crawford though this time. I just think he was a bit more effective. The counters did have a bit more success. Probably the most eye-catching punch, even though it was on like the back of the head, was delivered by Crawford. So I've got Porter up by 2, but I'm giving that round to Crawford. So we're approaching the 5th round now, and in those 4 rounds, I gave the first 3 to Porter and the 4th round to Crawford. Is going to be a change in the shift of the tempo of this fight. We will see. We'll see how this 5th round goes. Cutman trying to do his work on the cut over Sean Porter's right eye, which unfortunately was the result of a clash of heads. And we're underway for the 5th round. Both fighters again in the center of the ring there, and yeah, it looks like Crawford is going to start landing some heavier punches because he's starting to come forward far more now. Crawford's just trying to throw the jab and get himself a bit closer. Both fighters missing with their own respective jabs. Oh, Crawford trying to throw something with his right, but it's misses. Oh, stiff left thrown by Crawford, which connects. And both fighters find themselves tied up in the middle of the ring there, but you know, quite a few punches thrown by Sean Porter on the clinch. And Sean Porter now finding himself kind of backing up against finding himself retaining the center of the ring now. But you can see that Crawford is starting to stalk Porter a bit more, coming forward a bit more, trying to plant his feet so as to throw heavier shots. Both fighters again find themselves in the clinch and just trying to punch each other on the clinch. Referee breaking it up. 1 minute left of this 5th round. And you just feel like Porter is slightly less successful in this round compared to earlier ones. Although, that being said, he's now coming forward, throwing a bunch of punches, although Crawford maintaining a high guard, laughing it off, and a lot of those punches ineffective. A lot of energy expended there by Porter. He was just throwing a bunch of hooks and uppercuts, but a lot of that not making it through the high guard that Crawford was keeping up. But Porter doing pretty well. I mean, he's active. He's staying active. And you do wonder whether he's expending too much energy, though. We're only in the 5th round. He doesn't look too tired, Porter. And Porter just circling around the ring now. 15 seconds left of this 5th round. Leading left, thrown by Porter. And doing a good job bobbing and weaving right now, avoiding Crawford's punches. And Crawford trying to unload himself. Just finishing that 5th round, though. Who would I give that to? That was close as well, to be perfectly honest. You know, I'm gonna give that to Porter as well. I got Porter up by 3. I just feel like he's doing more. Yes, he's not being as effective, but I just feel like Crawford isn't actually. He's not landing as much as I expected him to land, to be perfectly honest. That being said, he doesn't need to land very much. He just needs to land with a heavy hand, and Porter will probably fall onto the canvas. But so far, to be perfectly honest, I'm not as impressed with Crawford's performance as I thought it would be. And Porter's certainly still in the fight. Anyway, beginning of the 6th round now, and I think the fight is probably going to start to change tempo. And just to say that, I mean, I'm freaking out the speed of these fighters. They're all just throwing punches and punches, but a lot of those punches, respectively, both missing. Porter doing a really good job just bobbing and weaving and avoiding those punches that Crawford is throwing. And Porter just coming forward now, trying to back Crawford against the ropes, but both fighters in the clinch. Referee breaks it up. And you just have a feeling that both these fighters are now fully relaxed into the fight, and they're now starting to throw those heavier punches a bit easier. 2 minutes left of this 6th round, and yeah, both fighters in the clinch again. Porter just getting tied up again. To be fair, a lot of the tying up has been performed by Crawford. He just keeps tying up Porter as he gets closer to him. Obviously, he doesn't want to be backed up against the ropes and allow Porter to unleash flurry of punches. So he just tied them up. 1 minute 20 left this 6th round. Porter again coming forward, just trying to close up the distance, and Crawford again with the clinch. He's just clinching way too much. Crawford just looking a bit like he's in pain. Did he just get a headbutt himself? He just looks like the referee just talking to him. I don't know what just happened there. It looks like maybe there was a headbutt or something, accidental clash, because he didn't look very happy there, Crawford. Less than a minute left. Adil's saying Crawford might be planning to tire Porter, then land a big blow. Could go 4 rounds. Yeah, true. Porter just coming forward, trying to land a body shot, missing. Crawford doing a decent job of just tying up Porter, to be honest. I mean, I would feel so frustrated if I was Porter right now, and I can just tell how frustrated Porter looks. He's trying to close the distance and unleash a bunch of punches, and whenever he tries to do it, he gets tied up by Crawford. Both fighters now just trying to do some inside fighting in the middle of the ring. And finding themselves in the clinch again. And Porter again trying to come forward. Crawford slipping those punches, end of that 6th round. It's a close one again. I mean, you have to think about how much work those counter punches are producing for Crawford, because otherwise Crawford isn't really producing anything of his own. I feel like Porter is still the aggressor. I like it when fighters are the aggressors, to be honest, which is why I'm probably going to give that round to Porter again, if I'm perfectly honest. But I have a feeling that the judges are going to have it much closer than I've got it, to be perfectly honest. So I've got Porter up by 4, which I think is probably not what the judges have it scored as. They might even have Crawford up right now, but I just feel like Porter is the more active of the two fighters, and that's why I'm scoring it this way. And Crawford really isn't doing too much other than occasional showboating and counters. I mean, obviously he's doing more than just that, but like what I'm seeing is mostly his counter punches, and some of them are ineffective. I'd like to see Crawford set something up himself. Anyway, 7th round is underway. And again, similar to the previous fights, we've got Porter trying to come forward, close that distance and land those heavier shots. Both fighters just in the center of the ring, nothing really happening. Oh, Porter trying to throw that left hand, missing. And Porter just trying to tie up Crawford from the back and throw some punches as the referee steps in. I just have a feeling Porter's getting frustrated. He's gonna make mistakes if he's just trying to leap forward, because he's getting tired of being tied up all the time. 1 minute 45 left of the 7th round. Yeah, I mean, interesting. Our predictions are not coming to life right now. I mean, this is not a TKO KO situation. Oh, Porter backing Crawford into the corner and again getting tied up. I mean, this is getting frustrating to watch, all this tying up. Like, this is getting frustrating to watch. 1 minute 20 left of this 7th round, and Porter still looking alive, active, bouncing on the canvas. Crawford trying to throw the right. Oh, Crawford with a good left hook counter. So that's probably the biggest shot of that 7th round that I've seen. .40 seconds left this 7th round. So far, I would say it's Crawford's round because of that really good counter. And Porter trying to come forward again and just find himself tied up, but oh my God, stop tying him up, man. It's so frustrating to watch this. He keeps getting tied up. I mean, it's fine. It's a smart move by Crawford, but it's a real pain to watch because I want to see Porter just like be able to unload. And Crawford just smiling at Porter right now. That psychological warfare in this 7th round. That's the end of that 7th round, and you just feel like Porter's spirit is actually starting to get a bit more diminished, and you can see how happy and cheerful Crawford's looking, smiling about. It's obviously part of the psychological warfare for this fight, but the body language, you can kind of see that Porter is not looking as he's looking more serious and less kind of smiley, I guess. I haven't seen him smile at all in the fight anyway. I mean, that's not like it matters, but honestly, Crawford, when he smiles back, it kind of makes you slightly less. Probably it's a bit demoralizing seeing your opponent smiling at you all the time, as if to say that nothing you're doing is being affected. Anyway, I got Porter up by 3 now, because that was Crawford's round, definitely. I think that counter left hook was pretty impressive. 8th round is underway now. Will this fight go the distance? If it does, it'll be interesting to see what the judges have scored it as. They probably got Crawford up. I don't. Oh, Porter taking a right hook as he comes in, and that's the thing. This is the danger. Oh, these fighters are combinations being thrown right now. Oh, a bunch of punches thrown by Crawford, which will miss because Porter just keeping out of distance. But a lot of flurries of punches being thrown. Really interesting exchange there in the last 20, 30 seconds of that 8th round. It's currently undergoing. But you see, that's the thing. Porter opened himself up to a counter while he was trying to come in. That's the dangerous thing. And Porter again, I'm sure is going to try and leap forward, throw a bunch of punches, and maybe expose himself as he's been doing recently. Another clinch by Crawford, which is really just getting on my nerves. And again, Porter trying to come forward. Crawford tying him up. Referee stepping in. 1 minute 25 of this 8th round. Nice left thrown by Porter. And again, Porter trying to chase Crawford down. Crawford tying him up. Referee stepping in. 1 minute left. Nice right thrown by Porter. Oh, nice right hook thrown by Porter. I think that connected. Although all I'm seeing is Crawford just smiling back at him, so I don't really know. We'll have to see from the slow-mo after this. 40 seconds left of this 8th round, and Porter now trying to put his weight over Crawford after Crawford ties him up. Referee breaks up 2 fighters. Both fighters looking very active in this one, but yeah, you wonder where Porter's energy levels are. He's expended a lot of energy in this fight, throwing punches. Again, Crawford just smiling back at Porter right now. Just dancing around the ring. That's the end of that 8th round. Both fighters had success in that 8th round. I would probably give that to Crawford though. He had a bit more success with the counter punches that he was throwing. But so did Porter in terms of his own punches, not counter punches, but in terms of his own hooks and so on. He had some success there. Both fighters had success. I mean, it could be a 10-10, but I don't want to give 10-10s. I'm trying not to. So I'm going to give that to Crawford. I've got Porter up by 2. As we approach this 9th round, so still a lot to play for, even if it does go to points. I mean, it could be the case that Crawford wins this fight on points. So, you know, but we'll on the current scoring as it is, I've got Porter up by 2. We're moving into the 9th round now. Who would have expected us to reach the 9th round for this fight? And Crawford looking at, slightly more active, coming forward a bit more. Come forward the right jab. Yeah, Crawford trying to throw a left and a right, both miss. Crawford throwing a right, misses. Porter just maintaining the center of the ring, waiting for his opportunity to come forward to try and close that distance. Again, leaping forward, Porter with a left which doesn't connect, and Crawford trying to throw a counter which doesn't connect. Porter now finding himself in the corner. Manages to work his way out though. 1 minute 40 left of this 9th round. Interesting. Porter with a shot to the body. He hasn't done much body work at all, to be honest, Porter. I think he's gone head hunting quite a lot in this fight. 1 minute 25 left of this 9th round. Porter walking to Crawford. Both fighters on the clinch. Again, yeah, Crawford tying up Porter, referee breaking up the fight. There's about 1 minute left of this 9th round now. Crawford throwing the right, misses. Or jab thrown by Crawford and a left thrown by Crawford which connects. And Porter's just, leaving himself exposed as he tries to come forward and close the distance to all these counters. But to be fair, hasn't been knocked down or anything like that or rocked. Porter's still looking good. I mean, Crawford certainly looks more flashy of the two fighters, that's without a doubt. He looks more slick and, he's got more finesse to his style, whereas Porter's just trying to come forward and land. Depends whether the judges care about that. But in real terms, he hasn't really had much success. So the end of that 9th round, and I mean, Porter looks just a bit frustrated. He's probably frustrated he hasn't been able to connect as much. It's probably the annoying thing for him. And that he keeps getting tied up by Crawford. Just watching some of the slow-mos now. Stiff left hook thrown by Porter, but then as he comes in, finds himself the victim of a left uppercut counter. That's the thing. I mean, he opens himself up to counters there. I'm giving that to Crawford. So I've got Porter up by 1. So he's starting to close the gap now, Crawford, as we move into the 10th round. So, I mean, 10, 11, 12 rounds left in terms of the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And I got Porter up by 1, so Crawford could flip it on my unofficial scorecard. And I assume he will, because I feel like Porter's getting tired now. So I think Crawford's probably going to win these last 3 rounds. Anyway, 10th round is underway. Oh, and he finds himself a left hook. Porter, he's on the canvas. He's up again though. Doesn't look like it significantly impacted him. He looks okay, but there is a knockdown there. And there's only 2 minutes. There's 2 minutes left to this 10th round, so he could end it, Crawford, if he wants to. But does he want to? Is he going to try and go for the knockout? I mean, is it necessary? He's already scored the knockdown. Porter's reaction to this knockdown is to come forward himself. When maybe he should just tie up Crawford if he's not feeling himself. But it looks like on a left and a right thrown by Crawford as Porter tries to come forward, and Porter again hits the canvas, punches the canvas in frustration, and gets back up. It looks like Porter is in a good... What? Oh, what the frick, man? Okay, so his corner... All right, so Porter's corner had stopped the fight for him in that 10th round. I mean, I think maybe they knew that Porter was going to get knocked out because there was still like 2 minutes left of that 10th round, and he'd been knocked down twice. To be fair, I mean, it wasn't an eye-catching punch. I mean, well done to Crawford. Look, to be honest, I wasn't impressed with Crawford's performance in those first few rounds. But again, as Adil was saying, maybe it was the case that he was actually just trying to get, find his range and trying to figure out what Porter was doing and make his analysis. And one thing that I can say about Crawford is that he did a lot less work. Both fighters just embracing themselves in the ring now. He did a lot less work, but was more effective in many respects through just like slip and slide in, countering and tying up Porter and frustrating him. But to be perfectly honest, like, I think Porter put up a very good performance as well. I'm slightly surprised at how abruptly that 10th round ended. I didn't see Porter really getting damaged otherwise throughout the whole fight. And, he got knocked down twice, fine. Maybe there was just a worry that he was going to get knocked down a third time. But he didn't look particularly injured in either of those circumstances, the first and the second knockdown. So I'm a bit surprised why he didn't have a bit more heart to get up. But, corners know their fighters pretty well, and they called the shots on this and decided to end the fight on his behalf. So it's a TKO victory, I believe, for Terence Crawford in round 10. So yeah, otherwise pretty interesting fight. Slightly frustrating to see Paul get tied up a lot. He just looks a bit, I don't know. Paul looks quite demoralized right now. Looks really upset. Kind of just looks really upset right now, Porter. Understandably so, but maybe he's just very frustrated about how the fight didn't go as to how he was planning, I guess. But he shouldn't be too upset. I think he did pretty well. Anyway, that's the end of that fight. I hope you guys enjoyed this watch along. If you could, please do like and subscribe if you can. It means well to us. It does help the channel grow, so we can hit that special algorithm, and also so that we can continue producing quality content on quality shots. So there's a kind of like a left uppercut counter thrown by Crawford there on the first occasion, and then there's a stiff left thrown by Crawford on that second occasion. And this is something that, Porter was going to leave himself exposed to, because he was trying to, throw punches while coming forward to try and close that distance. And, it's a testament to Crawford's ability to deal with a pressure fighter, I guess, and to throw those counters very effectively. So the main thing to watch for Crawford is that, he's such a successful counter puncher. And that's the thing that Porter couldn't deal with. Bit surprised about how quickly the fight ended there, but it is what it is. Pretty interesting fight nonetheless. I'd like to see Crawford fight some of the other welterweights in the division now. I mean, obviously he retains his undefeated record, but ideally he should be fighting the likes of Errol Spence, for example. That would be interesting. We've got your Dennis Ugas, who's got a title, obviously having beaten Manny Pacquiao. And as far as I'm aware, your Dennis Ugas has never fought Crawford, so why not fight him as well? He needs to. Obviously he's been out of the ring for like a year and a bit, but with his undefeated record, I think it's time for him to also start fighting some of these other welterweights that have kind of been climbing up while he's been inactive, I imagine. a deal with any news on the Amir Khan versus Brook fight. No news as far as I'm aware. I'd love to see that fight. I'm just going to check right now to see if there's any updates. Looks like a lot of the news stories are saying no one wants to see that fight, etc. Well, the Sun said that. Well, I don't want to name papers, but you know, that's a stupid thing to say. I'd love to see the Amir Khan versus Kell Brook fight. It's, people aren't going to watch it to watch the best boxing ever, because these fighters are, to be honest, past their prime in my view. They are past their prime, but we want to see it because of the beef that these two have and because it would sell pay-per-view. So, Kell Brook saying a week ago that Amir Khan contract finally signed, but I don't see any other updates otherwise. So we will see. We'll keep you guys posted if there is that fight announcement, proper fight announcement, and they've got a date in the diary and all that kind of stuff. Then we will keep you updated. And without a doubt, we're going to watch that fight and do a play play-by-play commentary of the fight as it progresses. But getting from contract to actual fight can take some time, I think. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a good one, though. Yeah, I can imagine one fight contract. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that fight when it and if it does happen. It'll be a good one to watch for sure. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and also please do like and subscribe if you can. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in, especially Adil. Thank you very much for your comments. It's been good watching this one with you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.